Before we step into tonight's story, come a little closer. I want to know where you are listening from right now. Are you curled up in bed with your headphones on? Are you resting after a long day, working quietly, driving under the night lights, or just taking a small moment for yourself? Tell me in the comments, because I really love imagining all of you listening from different corners of the world. And while you're there, tell me what kind of GL story you want next. A cold CEO who slowly melts, a famous actress hiding a secret love, fake dating that becomes dangerously real, jealousy, scandals, soft kisses, forbidden romance, slow burn tension. If this kind of story is your weakness, give the video a little like, leave me a sweet comment, and make yourself comfortable. Tonight's story is about a woman who was only supposed to pretend to be loved, until the coldest CEO in the city forgot how to pretend. Mira Vale learned very young that fame was not the same thing as being seen. People recognized her face before they remembered her name. They knew the shampoo commercial where she smiled under fake golden rain. They knew the tiny role she played in a hospital drama, the one where she cried beside a bed for exactly 11 seconds. They knew the old fantasy series where she appeared as a palace maid in 3 episodes before her character was killed off by a poisoned peach. They knew her face. They knew the shape of her mouth when she smiled for cameras. They knew the way stylists dressed her in soft colors and hesasm and called her harmless. But nobody really knew her. Nobody knew that the smile was usually taped over exhaustion. Nobody knew that the gentle, sweet, always grateful actress everyone liked to underestimate was barely keeping her life from falling apart. The apartment she lived in was too small for the gowns she borrowed and too expensive for the jobs she actually got. The flowers that sometimes arrived at her door were never from lovers. They were from brands that expected her to post about them. The designer bag she carried to red carpets went back to showrooms the next morning. The necklace glittering at her throat in photos belonged to a stylist who watched her like a hawk until it was safely unclasped. The world saw a rising star. Meera saw bills, audition rejections, fake smiles, late-night anxiety, and one little sister who still believed Meera could become someone important. That was the part that hurt most. Lena believed in her. Lena believed with the whole bright, reckless heart of a 19-year-old who had never yet been crushed by an industry that smiled while it chewed people up. Every time Meera wanted to quit, Lena sent her a message. "You looked so pretty in that interview. Your scene was the best part of the episode. One day, everyone will know you." Meera always answered with a heart. She never told Lena that she had cried in the bathroom after that interview, because the host had only asked about her diet. She never told Lena that her scene had been cut down from 4 minutes to 20 seconds. She never told Lena that everyone knowing her might be the scariest thing she could imagine, because the closer Meera got to fame, the more she realized fame was just a brighter cage. And then, on the coldest night of November, the cage opened. Not because someone saved her, because someone bought the lock. The invitation arrived at 11:43 p.m. Meera was sitting on her kitchen floor, in an old sweaters, eating instant noodles from a cracked bowl, while reading an email from her agent that began with the words, "I tried my best." Those 4 words were never good. She had not gotten the role. Again. Not the lead in the streaming drama. Not the supporting character in the legal thriller. Not even the cosmetics campaign she had pretended not to care about. Her phone buzzed beside her knee. Meera almost ignored it. Then she saw the sender. Evelyn Cross Executive Office. For a moment, she thought it was spam. Everyone in the city knew that name. Evelyn Cross, CEO of Cross Meridian, the most powerful luxury media empire in the country. Her company owned fashion labels, film studios, hotels, magazines, streaming platforms, cosmetics brands, and half the billboards Mira had ever stared at while wondering why her face was not on them. Evelyn Cross was 32, impossibly rich, frighteningly beautiful, and so emotionally unavailable that gossip pages called her the Ice Queen of Meridian Tower. She never smiled in photos. She never stayed at parties longer than 20 minutes. She never touched anyone unless cameras required a handshake. And she never, ever dated publicly, which was why the email made absolutely no sense. Miss Vale, Cross requests your presence at Meridian Tower tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. for a private professional proposal. Discretion is required. A car will arrive at your residence at 7:15 a.m. Attached is a preliminary non-disclosure agreement. Sincerely, Helena Marr, Chief of Staff to Evelyn Cross. Meera stared at the message so long her noodles went cold. A private professional proposal from Evelyn Cross at 8 a.m. with a car. Meera's first reaction was fear. Her second reaction was to check whether she had accidentally offended someone powerful enough to erase her career. Her third reaction was to call her agent. Paula picked up on the fourth ring, voice thick with sleep. Meera, sweetheart, unless you're dying or pregnant with a billionaire's secret baby. This can wait. I got an email from Evelyn Cross's office. Silence. Then a rustle of sheets. Repeat that slowly. Meera did. Paula stopped, sounding sleepy. Do not delete it. Do not reply casually. Do not add emojis. Send it to me. I think it's fake, maybe. But if it isn't fake, you need to go. To a private meeting with a billionaire at 8 in the morning? To a private professional proposal with the woman who can make you the face of 3 campaigns and a film franchise before lunch. Meera rubbed her forehead. What if it's something awful? Then you say no. Meera laughed softly, because they both knew how rarely actresses at her level could afford that word. Paula's voice softened. Meera, listen to me. Go. Wear something simple, elegant, not desperate. I own desperate in 3 colors. Then wear the black desperate. Meera smiled despite herself. After they hung up, she read the NDA. It was strict enough to make her palms sweat. No recordings, no disclosure, no mention of the meeting to press, colleagues, acquaintances, or family. Financial penalties large enough to make her ancestors nervous. Meera signed at 1:12 a.m. Then she slept for exactly 2 hours and 36 minutes. In the morning, the car arrived 7 minutes early. It was Black's, silent, and expensive in the way things were expensive, when they no longer needed to show off. Meera stood in front of her building, wearing a black dress, an old wool coat, and ankle boots she had polished with a tissue. Her hair was brushed into loose waves. Her makeup was soft enough to look natural and careful enough to have taken 40 minutes. The driver opened the door for her. Miss Vale. Her stomach twisted. People who opened doors like that usually did not know her name. The ride to Meridian Tower took 23 minutes. Meera counted them, because counting kept her from panicking. The city outside was still waking up. Coffee shops glowed. Buses hissed at curbs. Office workers crossed streets with paper cups and tired eyes. And then Meridian Tower rose ahead of them, black glass and silver lines slicing into the pale morning sky. It looked less like a building and more like a decision. Inside, the lobby was cold marble, quiet security, and people walking too quickly to be ordinary. Meera felt immediately out of place. A woman in a cream suit waited near the private elevators. Miss Vale, I'm Helena Marr. Helena was in her 40s, sharp-eyed, calm, and polished enough to make Meera stand straighter. Good morning, Meera said. Miss Cross is expecting you. Not waiting. It's expecting. There was a difference. They stepped into a private elevator. It rose without sound. Meera watched the numbers climb. 30, 40, 50, 61. At the top floor, the doors opened into silence. The CEO's office was not what Meera expected. There were no gold statues, no ridiculous chandelier, no wall of awards demanding admiration. It was elegant, severe, and controlled. Glass walls, dark wood, white orchids, a long desk, a city view wide enough to make a person feel small. And behind that desk stood Evelyn Cross. Meera forgot, for half a second, how to breathe. Photos had not lied about Evelyn's beauty. They had simply failed to warn anyone about the force of it. She was tall, dressed in a charcoal suit that looked made by someone who measured power in millimeters. Her black hair was pinned neatly at the nape of her neck. Her skin was pale, her mouth unsmiling. Her eyes a cold shade of gray that seemed to notice every weakness before a person spoke. She looked like winter had learned to wear heels. Veils, Evelyn said. Her voice was low, not warm, not cruel. Precise, Miss Cross. Sit, Meera sat. Evelyn did not. That should have irritated Meera. Instead, it made her feel as if she were in an audition where the script had been hidden from her. Helena placed a folder on the table between them and left without a sound. The door closed. Now there were only two women, one city, view, and a silence sharp enough to cut skin. Evelyn studied her. Meera forced herself not to fidget. At auditions, she had learned that stillness could look like confidence if no one looked too closely. "You're smaller than I expected," Evelyn said. Meera blinked. "Thank you. It was not a compliment. I figured. I just didn't know what else to do with it." For the first time, something almost moved in Evelyn's face. Not a smile. Maybe the ghost of interest. She finally sat. "I have a problem, Miss Vale. Most people do. My board believes my private life is becoming a liability." Meera did not respond. That seemed safest. Evelyn opened the folder and turned it toward her. Inside were photographs. Meera recognized them instantly. Gossip pages. Screenshots. Headlines. Evelyn Cross heartless again? Ice Queen CO rejects Hyras. At charity ball. Cross Meridian stock shaken by COs. Cold image. Is Evelyn Cross too unlikable to lead a media empire? Meera looked up slowly. "You want me to fix your image? I want you to assist in a temporary narrative correction." That's a very expensive way to say yes. It is an accurate way to say yes. Meera glanced at the folder again. "What does that have to do with me?" Evelyn leaned back slightly. "You are likable." Meera almost laughed. "I'm barely employed. You're approachable. Soft public image. No major scandals. No aggressive fan base. No serious romantic history attached to your name. Enough recognition to be useful. Not enough power to become difficult." Each sentence landed like a pin. Meera kept her smile, gentle, because that was what she had trained herself to do when some people insulted her politely. "So I'm convenient." Yes. At least she was honest. Meera folded her hands in her lap. "And what exactly is the role?" Evelyn's gaze did not waver. "My girlfriend." The word entered the room and calmly rearranged the air. Meera stared at her. "Excuse me." For 6 months publicly. No private intimacy required. No emotional expectations. "You will attend selected events with me. Appear in controlled photographs. Allow my PR team to manage limited stories about the relationship and maintain confidentiality at all times." Meera waited for a hidden camera to appear. None did. "You want to hire me to pretend to be your girlfriend?" "Yes." "Why me?" "I told you." "No. You told me why someone like me." So why me specifically?" Evelyn's eyes lowered briefly to the folder. "There was an interview 2 months ago. The host asked if you were disappointed about losing a role to a more famous actress." Meera remembered. She had been sitting on a pink couch under lights, too hot to breathe. The question had been wrapped in sugar and designed to humiliate her. "What did I say?" Meera asked quietly. "You said, 'Disappointment is not poison unless you drink it.' I'm happy for her, so I'll keep working." Meera had forgotten the exact words. Evelyn had not. "You didn't make yourself a victim," Evelyn said. "You didn't attack another woman to save your pride, if that matters." For the first time since entering the office, Meera felt something besides nerves. A strange, small warmth. Then Evelyn added, "And your contract rate is currently affordable." The warmth died. Meera looked down at the paperwork. How much? Evelyn named a number. Mira's body went still. It was more money than she had made in 3 years, enough to pay her debts. Enough to move Lena out of their aunt's crowded house and into a proper dorm. Enough to breathe. That was the cruel thing about money. It could make a terrible idea sound like oxygen. What are the rules? Evelyn slid another page forward. No speaking to press without approval. No unscheduled public appearances together. No dating anyone else. No contradicting the relationship. No entering my private residence without invitation. No discussing my family. No emotional demands. Mira looked up at that one. No emotional demands? This is a contract. Right. Obviously. Can you do that? Mira looked at the woman across from her. Beautiful. Untouchable. Frozen. The kind of woman people wrote stories about because real women could not get close enough to understand her. Mira thought of Rent. She thought of Lena. She thought of all the auditions where powerful men had asked her to be charming for free. At least Evelyn Cross was paying. I'm an actress, Mira said softly. Pretending is what I do. Evelyn's gaze sharpened. Good. She reached for a pen and placed it on the folder. Mira picked it up. Her hand trembled only once. She signed. That was how Mira Vale became the fake girlfriend of the coldest CEO in the city. And neither of them understood yet what a dangerous thing pretending could be. Their first public appearance happened 3 days later, a charity gala. Of course it was a charity gala. Rich people loved charity galas because they could put on diamonds, donate less than they spent on the table arrangements, and call themselves kind. Mira stood in a private dressing room, while 2 stylists circled her. Like she was a delicate crime scene. The gown chosen for her was midnight blue satin, simple from the front and devastating from the back. Her hair fell in soft waves over one shoulder. Her makeup made her eyes look wider, warmer, more breakable. Romantic, one stylist said. Soft enough to humanize her, said another. Mira looked at herself in the mirror. Her reflection looked expensive. That always made her sad. There was a knock. The room went quiet before the door even opened. Evelyn entered. The stylists straightened instantly. Mira turned and forgot every clever thing she had prepared. Evelyn wore black, not because she lacked imagination, but because black on her was not a color. It was a warning. The tailored suit fit like armor. The white shirt beneath was open at the throat, just enough to make Mira's eyes betray her for one humiliating second. Evelyn noticed. Of course she noticed. Her gaze moved over Mira with controlled assessment. You look suitable, Mira smiled sweetly. How passionate. The stylist pretended not to hear. Evelyn held out a velvet box. Mira hesitated. What is that? Jewelry. I assumed it wasn't a sandwich. Again, that almost smile threatened the corner of Evelyn's mouth. Almost. She opened the box. Inside lay a necklace of white diamonds with one deep blue sapphire at the center. Mira stopped breathing for a second. No. Evelyn's brows lifted slightly. No? I cannot wear that. You can. That necklace probably costs more than my entire building. Several of your building. That does not help. It completes the image. Mira stared at the sapphire. It was the color of the gown, but darker. Like a secret kept underwater. Evelyn stepped closer. Turn around. I can put it on myself. I know. Mira should have refused. Instead, she turned. The room became unbearably quiet as Evelyn moved behind her. Mira felt the cool brush of diamonds against her collarbone. Then Evelyn's fingers touched the back of her neck. Lightly, barely. Still, Mira's skin reacted as if it had been waiting. She hated that. She hated it because this was pretend. A contract. No emotional demands. No private intimacy. No romance. Evelyn fastened the clasp. Her fingers lingered for half a second too long. Or maybe Mira imagined it. There, Evelyn said. Mira turned back around. Their faces were closer than expected. Evelyn's eyes dropped to the necklace, then lifted to Mira's mouth. Only for a moment. But Mira saw it. Something in her chest made a very foolish decision. It fluttered. Evelyn stepped back. We leave in 5 minutes. Do I get any instruction besides looking suitable? Yes. Evelyn's voice cooled again. Do not improvise. Mira smiled. That seems unfair to my profession. It is necessary for mine. The gala was held in a museum, where the ceilings were high. The champagne was older than some careers, and every smile had teeth hidden behind it. The moment Evelyn and Mira entered together, the room changed. Conversation slowed. Heads turned. Cameras lifted. Mira had walked red carpets before. Small ones, messy ones, the kind where photographers shouted the names of bigger stars, while assistants gently moved her along. This was different. Beside Evelyn Cross, Mira became visible in a way that almost hurt. Every flash felt like a question. Who is she? Why her? Is it real? Evelyn placed a hand at the small of Mira's back. The touch was controlled. Public, strategic. Mira knew that. Her body did not care. Relax, Evelyn murmured without looking at her. I am relaxed. You're holding your breath. So are half the people in this room. Not because they are afraid. Mira glanced up. Are you saying I'm afraid? I'm saying you're human. From Evelyn Cross, it sounded almost like kindness. Then a photographer shouted, Ms. Cross, is this your girlfriend? The question slammed into them. Mira felt Evelyn's hand still against her back. For 1 second, the script hovered between them. Then Mira did something she had specifically been told not to do. She improvised. She leaned slightly into Evelyn's side, looked at the photographer, and smiled like she had a secret worth keeping. Be nice to her, Mira said. She gets shy. A ripple went through the cameras. Laughter. Surprise. Evelyn turned her head slowly. Her eyes were dangerous. Mira kept smiling. The photographs exploded online within 20 minutes. Mira knew because Helena showed them during the car ride afterward. Evelyn sat beside her in silence. Mira, still wearing the sapphire necklace, tried not to look nervous. Helena scrolled through headlines on a tablet. Evelyn Cross has a girlfriend? Ice Queen melts for sweet actress Mira Vale. Be nice to her. She gets shy. Internet obsessed. With CO's new romance. Helena looked up. The response is extremely positive. Evelyn said nothing. Mira looked out the window. The city lights blurred against the glass. Finally, Evelyn spoke. I told you not to improvise. Mira turned back. It worked. That is not the point. It is absolutely the point. You made me look weak. No, Mira said, before she could stop herself. I made you look loved. Silence. Helena suddenly became fascinated by her tablet. Evelyn's face did not change, but her hand, resting on her knee, curled once. Mira noticed. She wished she had not. When they reached Mira's apartment building, Evelyn stepped out first. Mira blinked. You don't have to walk me. I know. The driver held the door. Evelyn walked with Mira to the entrance. It was late. The street was damp from earlier rain. A flickering streetlight painted them both in gold and shadow. Mira reached for the necklace clasp. I should return this. Keep it until the next event. I'd rather not be murdered for a necklace. No one will murder you. That sounds like something a person says before a murder. Evelyn looked at her for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, she reached up and adjusted the necklace where it had shifted slightly against Mira's skin. Her fingertips brushed the hollow of Mira's throat. Mira went still. Evelyn's gaze followed the movement. For half a breath, the entire night seemed to narrow to that touch. Then Evelyn stepped back. Good night, Miss Vale. Mira, she said softly. Evelyn paused. What? If I'm supposed to be your girlfriend, you should probably call me Mira. The word hung between them. Evelyn's expression became unreadable. Good night, Mira? Mira's foolish heart fluttered again. Good night, Evelyn. The CEO's eyes sharpened at the sound of her name. Then she turned and walked back to the car. Meera stood in front of her building until the taillights disappeared. Only then did she touch the sapphire at her throat. It was cold, but her skin beneath it was warm. After that, Meera became famous in the strangest way. Not for a role. Not for talent. Not for the years she had spent auditioning until her feet blistered. She became famous because Evelyn Cross looked at her once in a photograph like she might ever be human after all. The internet devoured them. Clips of the gala spread everywhere. People analyzed Evelyn's hand on Meera's back. They slowed down the footage of Meera teasing her. They wrote captions about the cold CEO and her sunshine actress. Fan edits appeared overnight. Meera watched one at 2 a.m. and immediately regretted it because the music made everything feel real. That was dangerous. Real was not part of the contract. The next 2 weeks became a blur of carefully planned moments. A lunch photographed through a restaurant window. Evelyn opening a car door for Meera. Meera leaving Meridian Tower with a soft smile and a bouquet she had been given by PR. A charity rehearsal where Evelyn stood too close while Meera laughed at something she had not actually said. Every gesture had a purpose. Every look had value. Every touch had an audience. And yet, somehow, the most dangerous moments were the ones nobody saw. Like the first time Meera visited Evelyn's private office after midnight. She had been called in for a briefing before an awards dinner. Rain battered the windows. The city below looked bruised and silver. Evelyn stood at her desk, sleeves rolled to her elbows, hair loosened slightly from its perfect knot. It was such a small change, should not have made Meera's pulse stumble. "There are 3 names you must remember tonight," Evelyn said, sliding a folder toward her. "Victor Hale, Marianne Soul, and Celia Armand. Victor wants a streaming deal. Marianne hates me, but will pretend otherwise. Celia is harmless unless she drinks champagne." Meera looked at the folder. "Do you brief all your fake girlfriends like spies?" "Yes. How romantic. Romance is inefficient." Meera looked up. "Do you really believe that?" Evelyn's pen stopped moving. "I believe most people confuse romance with performance," says the woman paying me to perform romance. "Exactly." Meera tilted her head. "And love?" Evelyn's gaze lifted. The room seemed colder suddenly. "Love is leverage," Meera regretted asking. But she could not stop herself. "Who taught you that?" For the first time, Evelyn looked away. Outside, thunder rolled softly over the city. "My family." The answer was short, final, a locked door. Meera knew better than to push, so she picked up the folder and flipped it open. "Fine. Tell me who hates you after champagne." Evelyn looked back at her. Something in her eyes had shifted. Not warmth, not yet, but less ice. At the awards dinner, Meera played her part beautifully. She smiled when Evelyn introduced her. She laughed at the right moments. She touched Evelyn's sleeve when people watched. She turned her face toward Evelyn, as if every word the CEO spoke mattered. The terrible thing was that, after a while, Meera stopped pretending that last part. Because Evelyn was interesting. Painfully, dangerously interesting. She was cold, yes, but not empty. She remembered every name. She noticed when a waiter's hand shook and quietly switched her empty glass with his tray so he could leave the room without embarrassment. She corrected a board member who interrupted a young female director. She refused to laugh at cruel jokes. She gave nothing away, but she saw everything. And when Myra's heel caught on the edge of a carpet, Evelyn caught her wrist before she fell. It happened quickly. No one else noticed. But Myra felt the strength of Evelyn's fingers around her, felt how fast Evelyn moved, felt the way her thumb brushed once over Mira's pulse before letting go. "Careful," Evelyn murmured. Meera looked up. Their faces were close. "Were you worried?" "No." "Liar." Evelyn's eyes darkened. Then someone called her name, and the moment vanished. But Meera carried it home with her like a stolen jewel. The first crack in the contract appeared on a Tuesday. Meera was at a studio audition for a supporting role in a historical drama. She had prepared for 3 days. She knew the lines, the accent, the emotional turn. She had even borrowed a blouse from Paula, because it made her look more expensive than she felt. The casting director barely looked at her. "Can you try it a little more fragile?" he asked. Meera smiled. Of course, she did. More innocent. She adjusted, less intelligent. That one hurt. She did it anyway. When she finished, the room was polite in the way. Rooms were polite when they had already chosen someone else. "Thank you, Meera. Lovely work." Lovely work meant no. She knew before she reached the hallway. What she did not expect was to find Evelyn Cross standing near the elevators. Meera stopped. Evelyn was in a pale gray coat, phone in one hand, expression as unreadable as ever. "What are you doing here?" Meera asked, meeting with the studio head. "Of course. Normal people have coffee. You meet with studio heads." Evelyn's eyes moved over her face. "How did it go?" Meera forced a shrug. "Lovely work." Evelyn understood immediately. That irritated Meera. Being understood without permission felt too intimate. "I see," Evelyn said. "No, you don't." The words came out sharper than intended. Evelyn's brows lifted slightly. Meera looked away. "I'm sorry. I need a minute." She turned toward the stairwell instead of the elevator. To her surprise, Evelyn followed. The stairwell was empty gray and smelled faintly of paint. Meera stopped on the landing between floors and pressed her hands against the railing. "I'm fine." "You're crying." Meera touched her cheek. "Damn it. I said I'm fine." Evelyn said nothing. Somehow, that was worse than comfort. Meera laughed once, bitterly. "They asked me to be less intelligent." Evelyn's expression hardened. "Who? It doesn't matter." "It does." "No, it doesn't. Because if I complain, I'm difficult. If I refuse, I'm arrogant. If I cry, I'm weak. If I keep smiling, I'm perfect for being underestimated forever." Her voice broke on the last word. She hated that Evelyn saw it. She hated that Evelyn did not look away. Meera wiped her face quickly. "Sorry. This is not part of the girlfriend service package." Evelyn stepped closer. "Do not do that." "What?" "Make your pain sound like a joke before anyone else can touch it." Meera went still. The words landed too accurately. "Careful," she whispered. "That almost sounded like you cared." Evelyn's face closed. For a moment, Meera thought she would retreat behind the familiar wall. Instead, Evelyn reached into her coat pocket and took out a handkerchief. White, folded, absurdly elegant. She offered it. Meera stared. "Do billionaires carry these in case actresses cry in stairwells?" "No." "Then why?" Evelyn's gaze did not move. "My mother used to say a woman should always be prepared for blood or tears, preferably someone else's." Meera took the handkerchief. Their fingers touched. This time, Evelyn did not pull away immediately. Meera dabbed her eyes. "Your mother sounds intense." "She was." "Was?" Evelyn looked past her, down the stairwell. "She died when I was 20. The air changed. Meera's anger softened despite herself. "I'm sorry." "Everyone is. That doesn't mean I shouldn't say it." Evelyn looked at her then. Something tired moved behind her eyes. For one brief second, she looked younger than 32. Then her phone buzzed. The wall returned. "I have to go." "Of course." Evelyn hesitated. Then she said, "You are not less intelligent when you are soft." Meera's breath caught. Evelyn continued, almost coldly. "And anyone who asks you to be smaller because they lack the range to understand you is unqualified to judge your work." Then she left. Meera stood alone in the stairwell, holding a white handkerchief that smelled faintly of cedar and rain. That night, a new headline appeared. Evelyn Cross cancels studio deal hours. After girlfriend's audition snub. Meera stared at her phone. Then she called Evelyn. The CEO answered on the second ring. "Yes? Did you cancel a deal because of me?" "No." Evelyn. A pause. I canceled a deal because their creative leadership lacks judgment." Did their lack of judgment happen to involve me crying in a stairwell, among other failures? Meera closed her eyes. You can't do things like that. I can. You shouldn't. Why? Because people will think I asked you to. I know you didn't. That won't matter. It matters to me. Meera forgot what she meant to say next. On the other end of the line, Evelyn was silent. Then, quieter, she asked, Are you still crying? No. Good. Were you worried? Another pause. No. Meera smiled into the darkness of her apartment. Liar. This time, Evelyn did not deny it. By the second month, the fake relationship had become the most convincing performance of Meera's life. The problem was that she no longer knew which parts were performance. Evelyn sent a car whenever it rained. She claimed it was for optics. There were no cameras outside Meera's apartment on most rainy nights. Evelyn learned that Meera hated black coffee and liked honey in tea. She claimed it was efficient to know preferences. Meera learned that Evelyn forgot to eat when stressed, hated lilies, read legal thrillers before bed, and listened to old jazz records when she thought no one could hear. She claimed she was only gathering character research. They were both liars. One evening, after a long charity meeting, Meera found Evelyn alone in Meridian Tower's private lounge, standing by the windows with a glass of water untouched in her hand. The city below looked soft under fog. You disappeared, Meera said. I stepped out. You looked like you were about to murder the finance minister. He deserved mild injury at least. Meera laughed. Evelyn's eyes moved to her face, and for some reason, the sound seemed to unsettle her. What? Meera asked. Nothing. That's your favorite lie. Evelyn turned back to the window. Meera stepped beside her. For a while, they watched traffic move like veins of light through the city. Then Meera said, You don't have to stand alone all the time. Evelyn's jaw tightened. I prefer it. No, you're used to it. That is not the same thing. No. Evelyn looked at her. The silence between them was not empty anymore. It had weight, history, things unsaid pressing their hands against glass. You speak very freely for someone under contract, Evelyn said. Meera turned toward her. You hired an actress, not a statue. I hired a professional. You hired a person. Evelyn's expression changed so quickly Meera almost missed it. A flash of pain. Then cold control. People are unreliable. Yes, Meera said softly. But they're also warm. The word warm seemed to strike something in Evelyn. She looked down at Meera's mouth. Meera saw it. This time, she did not pretend not to. Evelyn, she whispered. That was all. Just her name. But the CEO moved as if pulled by it. One step closer. The space between them became dangerous. Meera could smell her perfume now. Cedar amber. Something clean and expensive. Evelyn lifted a hand. Stopped. Lowered it. No private intimacy, she said. The words sounded like a rule. They also sounded like a plea. Meera's heart twisted. Right. Evelyn stepped back. A door closed somewhere outside the lounge. The moment broke. Meera wrapped her arms around herself. I should go. Meera. She paused. Evelyn looked like she wanted to say something, like she had 10 sentences trapped behind her teeth. In the end, she said only, Take the car. Meera nodded. That night she dreamed Evelyn kissed her. In the dream, the CEO's hands were gentle. That was what made it unbearable. The scandal broke on a Friday morning. Meera woke to 116 missed calls. That was never good. Her phone screen was filled with messages from Paula, Helena, unknown numbers, Lena, and 3 journalists. Lee Sint, who should not have had her contact information. The headline was everywhere. Mira Vale's secret contract? Sources claim romance with Evelyn Cross's fake. Below it was a blurry photo of a document. Not the full contract, but enough. Enough to show payment terms. Enough to show the words public relationship. Enough to turn affection into transaction. Meera sat up in bed, stomach dropping. For a moment, she could not move. Then she saw the second headline. Unknown actress paid to humanize billionaire CEO. And the third, Mira Vale, girlfriend or employee, and the comments. She should not have read them. Of course she read them. Gold digger, fake sweetheart. No wonder Evelyn chose someone desperate. Actress acts. Shocking. She sold herself and called it romance. Meera dropped the phone as if it burned. Her apartment felt too small, too exposed. Outside, someone shouted her name. She went to the window and froze. Paparazzi, on her street. Cameras pointed at her building. Her breath turned shallow. Then her phone rang again. Evelyn. Meera stared at the name until the call ended. It rang again. She answered. Evelyn's voice was sharp. Are you safe? Meera almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because safe suddenly felt like a word from another language. There are photographers outside. I'm sending security. No. Meera. No, Evelyn. Don't send men in suits to drag me out like stolen property. That will look amazing, won't it? Silence. I did not leak this, Evelyn said. I know. She did. That was the worst part. Meera knew Evelyn had not done it. But knowledge did not stop the humiliation. My team is tracing the source, Evelyn continued. We will issue a statement. A statement? Yes. What will it say? That I was compensated for emotional labor. Meera. Or that I was selected because I was likable, affordable, and not powerful enough to become difficult. Evelyn said nothing. Meera's throat burned. You wrote that about me. That was an internal assessment. That makes it better. No, for once, Evelyn sounded like she did not know how to fix something. Meera closed her eyes. I need space. This is not the time to be alone. It's exactly the time. You have a contract. The words hit like a slap. Meera went very still. Evelyn seemed to realize it a second too late. I didn't mean. Yes, you did. No, you always mean what you say. That's your thing. Meera, listen to me. No, I listened for 2 months. Her voice shook, but she kept going. I listened when you said this wasn't romance. I listened when you said no emotional demands. I listened when you touched me like you forgot there were rules and then hid behind them the second it became real. Evelyn inhaled sharply. Meera had never heard her do that before. I was hired to pretend to be loved. Meera whispered. I should have remembered that. Then she ended the call. The apartment became silent except for shouting outside. Meera stood in the middle of her bedroom, shaking. 5 minutes later, Lena called. Meera answered because she could ignore the world but not her sister. Meera? Lena's voice was small. Is it true? Meera sat on the bed. Her chest hurt. Yes. Oh, that little sound nearly broke her. I was going to tell you, Meera said, though she did not know when that would have been true. Were you okay? Lena asked. Not, why did you do it? Not, how could you? Were you okay? Meera covered her mouth. I thought I was. Lena was quiet. Then she said, Did she hurt you? Meera looked at the sapphire necklace on her dresser. She had not returned it. She had kept it in its box like a secret. I don't know, Meera said, and that was the most honest answer she had. Evelyn Cross was very good at war. She had been trained for it since childhood. Not war with weapons. War with silence. War with money. War with signatures. Leverage, timing, and men who underestimated women until the exact second they lost everything. By noon, Evelyn knew the leak had come from inside her own board. By 1, she knew which member had arranged it. By 2, she had enough proof to destroy him. By 3, Helena found her, standing in the executive conference room, staring at the city with the expression she wore before ending careers. Victor Hale, Helena said. I know. He leaked only part of the contract. Enough to damage Miss Vale without implicating himself. Evelyn's hand tightened around her phone. Miss Vale, not Meera. Because if Helena said Meera's name, Evelyn might forget that she was supposed to be calm. The board is meeting at 5, Helena continued. Move it to 4, Evelyn. The use of her first name made Evelyn turn. Helena rarely crossed that line. You need to consider the public response carefully. I am. No, you're angry. Evelyn's eyes went cold. Those are not mutually exclusive. Miss Vale is the one being torn apart online. I know that. Do you? The question landed too close to bone. Evelyn said nothing. Helena's expression softened by a fraction. You can destroy Victor by sunset. You can bury the leak. You can force every outlet to print corrections. But none of that answers the question people are asked. Evelyn looked back at the city. Was it fake? That was the question. The world wanted a clean answer, yes or no, contract or love, performance or truth. But Evelyn had built her life around never giving anyone enough truth to use against her. Love is leverage. Her father's voice, always cold, her mother's funeral, cameras outside the church, board members patting her shoulder with one hand and measuring her inheritance with the other. Every lesson had been clear. Do not need. Do not soften. Do not let anyone become necessary. Then, Mira Vale had walked into her office in a black dress and old boots, terrified but still making sharp little jokes. Meera had looked at Evelyn and not flinched. Meera had called her shy in front of cameras. Meera had cried in a stairwell and somehow made Evelyn feel like the fragile one. Meera had turned fake affection into something Evelyn did not have a name for. No, that was not true. She had a name. She was simply a coward. Evelyn looked at Helena. Where is she? At her apartment. Security is monitoring from a distance. As requested. Did she request that? No, you did after she told you not to send security. Evelyn closed her eyes briefly. Even her protection became control. That was what Meera saw, wasn't it? Not care. Ownership wearing a tailored coat. Evelyn opened her eyes. Prepare the boardroom. Helena nodded. And after? Evelyn picked up the contract folder from the table. For the first time in years, her hands were not perfectly steady. After, I apologize. The boardroom at Meridian Tower was designed to make people feel important. Long black table. City view. Leather chairs. Men and women with money, old enough to have opinions. Victor Hale sat near the center, silver-haired, charming, and smug in the way only guilty men felt entitled to be. Evelyn entered at exactly 4 o'clock. Everyone stopped speaking. She did not sit. Good. Let them look up. We are here because confidential company material was leaked to damage both this corporation and a private citizen, she said. Victor leaned back. Unfortunate, certainly, but perhaps inevitable, Evelyn. The arrangement was always risky. Evelyn looked at him. Was it? Yes. Paying an actress to simulate intimacy. To simulate stability? Another member corrected carefully. Victor smiled. Whatever words helps us sleep. Evelyn placed a thin folder on the table. I know who leaked it. The room changed. Victor's smile flickered. Evelyn opened the folder. An encrypted message to a tabloid editor. Payment routed through a consulting shell. A courier image from the building's private garage. Shall I continue, Victor? Silence. Victor's face lost color. This is absurd. No. It is boring. Betrayal usually is. He stood. You are letting that little actress cloud your judgment. The room froze. Evelyn did not move. Inside her, something very calm and very dangerous opened its eyes. Say that again, she said softly. Victor realized too late that he had made a mistake. I only meant. You meant Miss Vale is small enough to insult safely. No. You meant she is useful when she improves my image and disposable when she embarrasses you. Evelyn, you meant what men like you always mean. Her voice remained quiet. That made it worse. You believe women without your money exist to be arranged, purchased, displayed, doubted, and blamed. You believed leaking that contract would make me retreat and make her disappear. Victor's jaw tightened. This board has a duty to protect shareholders, and I have a duty to protect this company from cowards who mistake cruelty for strategy. Evelyn slid the documents forward. You will resign by 6. Your shares will be reviewed under the ethics clause. If you speak Miss Vale's name publicly or privately in any defamatory context, I will make the rest of your life extremely expensive. Victor stared at her. You would burn a 20-year alliance for her. For her, the words should have sounded foolish. Instead, they sounded like the only honest thing in the room. Evelyn looked at the board. No, she said. I would burn it because it deserved fire. Then she picked up her phone and walked out. By 5:12 p.m., Victor Hale's resignation was public. By 5:20 p.m., outlets began updating their stories. By 5:47 p.m., Cross Meridian issued a statement condemning the illegal leak and harassment of Mira Vale. By 6:03 p.m., Evelyn stood outside Mira's apartment building in the rain. No security beside her. No driver holding an umbrella. No cameras invited. Just Evelyn Cross, soaked at the edges of her coat, looking up at a window where the lights were on. For the first time in her adult life, she had no strategy. Only regret. Meera did not answer the first knock. Or the second. On the third, she opened the door with the chain still latched. Evelyn stood in the hallway. Wet hair. Pale face. No armor except the coat she had forgotten to button. Mira's chest tightened against her will. You shouldn't be here. I know. There are photographers. I came through the back. Of course you did. A silence. Evelyn looked at the chain. I deserve that. Meera hated that her throat hurt. What do you want? To apologize? You could have sent a statement. You're good at those. I'm not apologizing as a CEO. Mira's fingers tightened around the door. Evelyn swallowed. The movement was small, human. I am sorry, she said, for the contract, for the language in it, for choosing you like a solution instead of approaching you like a person, for using rules to protect myself and calling it professionalism, for saying you had a contract when you were hurt. Meera looked down. Each sentence slipped past her defenses because Evelyn was not making excuses. That was almost worse. I know I hurt you, Evelyn continued. I know I made you feel bought. Meera's eyes stung. Didn't you? Evelyn flinched. Yes. The honesty broke something open. Meera looked at her. Evelyn's eyes were bright, though no tears fell. I bought your time, Evelyn said. Your image, your labor, your silence. And then I was arrogant enough to be surprised when my feelings did not obey the same terms. Meera stopped breathing. Evelyn's voice dropped. I fell for you, Meera. The hallway seemed to tilt. Meera stared through the narrow gap. The chain between them suddenly looked very small and very huge. No? Meera whispered. Evelyn's face tightened. No? No. You don't get to say that now. I know. You don't get to say it after the whole world laughed at me. I know. You don't get to make it beautiful just because it hurts. Evelyn closed her eyes. When she opened them, the coldness was gone. Not melted completely, but cracked enough for pain to show through. I am not asking you to forgive me tonight. Then, what are you asking? Nothing. Meera's lips parted. Evelyn gave a small, sad smile. It was the first real smile Meera had ever seen from her. It nearly ruined her. I have asked too much from you already, Evelyn said. I only came to say that what was fake became real for me, and that I am sorry I was too afraid to honor it before fear destroyed it. Meera looked at her for a long moment, then. She closed the door. On the other side, she leaned against it, trembling. Evelyn did not knock again. Meera listened to her footsteps leave. Only when the hallway went quiet did she slide down to the floor and cry. Not because Evelyn had lied, because for once, she had told the truth. And Meera did not know what to do with a truth that arrived too late. For 2 weeks, Meera had disappeared. Not completely. No one could disappear completely anymore. But she turned off her comments, stopped answering unknown calls, refused interviews, and stayed away from every event Cross Meridian's PR team suggested. Paula was surprisingly gentle. You don't owe anyone a comeback yet, she said. Meera sat on her couch under a blanket, eating cereal from a mug. Do I owe them one eventually? You owe yourself one. The timing is negotiable. Lena visited on the 3rd day, with groceries, a terrible movie. and the fierce determination not to mention Evelyn unless Meera did. Meera lasted 40 minutes. She said she fell for me. Lena paused with a chip halfway to her mouth. Do we hate that or cry about it? I haven't decided. Okay, I can do either. Meera laughed for the first time in days. Then she cried again, which seemed unfair but also inevitable. The truth was, she missed Evelyn. She missed the dry little comments. She missed the way Evelyn said her name, like it was a decision she had not meant to make. She missed the cars that appeared when it rained. She missed arguing about romance and efficiency. She missed watching the coldest woman in the room quietly make space for her. But missing someone did not erase humiliation. Missing someone did not turn control into care. Missing someone did not mean she should go back. That was what Meera repeated to herself. Then, on the 15th day, a script arrived. Not through Evelyn. Not through Cross Meridian. Through an independent director named Solen Cade, whose films were small, strange, critically adored, and impossible. She personally wanted you, unless she personally wanted you. The message was short. I saw your stairwell audition tape. It was sent to me by someone who said you had been asked to be less intelligent and refused to become less alive. I am casting the lead in my next film. I would like to meet you. Meera read the message 3 times. Then she called Paula. Paula screamed. Then Meera noticed the attachment, a note. No name at the bottom, but she knew. Miss Cade. Mira Vale has been underestimated by people who lack the courage to be changed by her work. I am sending this without her knowledge. She may be angry if she learns that. Cast her only if she is right for the role. She would not forgive either of us for pity. Meera sat very still. Not because Evelyn had helped, because Evelyn had done the one thing Meera had not expected. She had opened a door without standing in front of it. She had not demanded credit. She had not made a public gesture. She had not used Meera's gratitude as leverage. She had simply seen Meera's talent and placed it where someone else might see it too. Meera hated how much that mattered. The meeting with Solen happened 2 days later. There were no humiliating questions, no requests to be smaller. Solen was direct, intense, and watched Meera like she was already a real actress. The role is difficult, Solen said. The character is tender but not weak, romantic but not foolish, wounded but never passive. Can you do that? Meera thought of Evelyn standing in her hallway, finally honest and too late. Yes, she said, I can. The audition took 20 minutes. When Meera finished, the room was silent. Solen leaned back. Then she smiled. There you are. Meera got the role, her first lead. Not because she was Evelyn Cross's girlfriend, not because she was useful, because she was good. That night, Meera almost called Evelyn. She stared at the number for 10 minutes. Then she put the phone down. Some truths needed time to become safe. The premiere of The Quiet Burning happened 9 months later. By then, the world had moved on in the way the world always did. The scandal became old content. Victor Hale's resignation became a business case study. Evelyn Cross became colder in public again, if that was possible. Meera became something else, a serious actress. The film had premiered at festivals. Reviews called her luminous, devastating, precise, impossible to look away from. Meera saved every review and pretended she did not. She moved into a better apartment with enough sunlight for plants. Lena got her dorm. Paula cried when Meera paid off her agency debt. Everything changed. And still, some nights, when rain touched the windows, Meera thought of a black car waiting downstairs. She thought of a woman who believed love was leverage because no one had taught her love could be shelter. She thought of the contract locked in a drawer, unsigned now, because Meera had requested termination and Evelyn had granted it immediately. No penalties, no threats, just one sentence from Evelyn's lawyer. Miss Cross agrees to all terms requested by Miss Vale. Meera had not seen Evelyn since the hallway apology. Not in person, But she saw traces. A film studio suddenly hiring more female executives. A tabloid sued into public apology after harassing a young actress. A scholarship created for working-class women in film under Mira's mother's maiden name, which Evelyn somehow knew because she noticed everything. Evelyn was trying. Quietly, from a distance, without asking to be forgiven. That made forgiveness harder. The premiere was held at the old Royal Cinema, all velvet seats, golden lights, and a red carpet that did not feel borrowed this time. Meera arrived in a white gown with her hair pinned back and no necklace at her throat. She looked like herself. That was the miracle. Reporters called her name. Meera, over here. How does it feel to lead your first film? Are you nervous about awards season? Any comment on Evelyn Cross attending tonight? Mira's smile faltered. For a second, every sound blurred. She turned slightly, and there Evelyn was. At the edge of the carpet, not walking it, not posing, not stealing the light. Just standing in a black coat, hair down this time, expression carefully controlled as always. But her eyes were on Meera, only Meera. The air between them filled with every month they had not spoken. Meera looked away first because cameras were watching and some things were not for them. The film played to a full theater. Meera sat between Paula and Solène, hands clenched in her lap. She did not know where Evelyn sat. She told herself that was good. Then, halfway through the film, during the scene where Mira's character finally admits she is tired of being brave alone, Meera heard someone behind her inhale softly. She knew that sound. Her heart recognized it before her mind did. Evelyn was sitting 3 rows back. After the screening, the theater rose in applause. Meera stood overwhelmed, shaking as people clapped and cried and called her name. Solène hugged her. Paula ruined her mascara. Lena screamed loud enough to embarrass their ancestors. Then Meera looked back. Evelyn stood among the crowd, not clapping loudly, never loudly, but clapping. Her eyes shone. Mira's throat tightened. At the after-party, Meera tried to avoid her, not because she wanted to, because wanting was the problem. She spoke to critics, producers, actors, donors, old colleagues who now smiled as if they had always believed in her. Then she stepped onto a quiet balcony to breathe. The night air was cold. The city glittered beyond the stone railing. Meera closed her eyes. You were extraordinary. Her heart stopped. She turned. Evelyn stood by the doorway, keeping distance like a woman, respecting a line drawn long ago. Mira's voice came out soft. You came. I bought a ticket. Despite everything, Meera smiled. You own half the industry and bought a ticket. Several. I didn't know where you would prefer me to sit. That's ridiculous. Yes. Silence. Not empty. Never empty with them. Evelyn stepped no closer. I won't stay long. I only wanted to congratulate you. Thank you. You were right, Evelyn said. Meera blinked. That narrows nothing. I'm often right. A small smile touched Evelyn's mouth. Real. Still rare. Still dangerous. You told me people could be warm. Mira's chest ached. And I've spent 9 months discovering how cold I had allowed myself to become. Meera looked down at her hands. Evelyn continued, voice quiet. I won't ask for what I lost. I won't pretend apology earns access. But I need you to know that loving you changed the shape of my life, even when I had no right to keep you in it. Meera closed her eyes. You can't just say things like that in a balcony voice. I practiced saying it normally. It sounded worse. A laugh escaped Meera, then a tear. She wiped it away quickly. Evelyn's hands twitched at her sides, as if stopping herself from reaching out. That restraint hurt more than touch would have. Meera looked at her. Did you really send my audition tape to Solène? Yes. Why? Because you deserve to be seen by someone who knew how to look. Mira's breath trembled. You didn't tell me. You would have thought I was trying to buy forgiveness, were you? No. Evelyn's eyes held hers. I was trying to love you without making it your burden. Meera turned toward the city because if she kept looking at Evelyn, she might forgive too quickly, and some part of her still needed to protect the woman she had become after leaving. "I missed you," Meera whispered. Behind her, Evelyn went completely still. Meera laughed softly through the ache. "I'm angry about that, by the way. I understand. I missed your terrible emotional vocabulary. I've improved. Have you?" "A little," Meera turned back. Evelyn looked nervous, actually nervous. The Ice Queen of Meridian Tower, terrified on a balcony, because a woman in a white dress had admitted she missed her. It was unfairly endearing. Meera took one step closer. Evelyn did not move. "Say it again," Meera said. Evelyn's voice lowered. "I love you." The words were simple. No contract, no cameras, no strategy, no payment terms. Just a truth standing between them, shaking slightly. Meera's eyes filled. "I'm scared," she admitted. "I know. I don't want to become another thing you manage. You won't. You don't get to decide that alone." "No," Evelyn said quickly. "I don't. That mattered." Meera took another step. "We go slowly." Evelyn nodded. "Slowly as you want. No contracts. No contracts. No PR narratives. No narratives. If we try, it's private first." "Private first," Evelyn repeated. Meera searched her face. "Can you do that? Not control it? Not turn it into a strategy the moment it scares you?" Evelyn was silent, honest enough not to answer too fast. Then she said, "I will be scared. I will probably make mistakes. But I will not use fear as an excuse to hurt you again." Myra's heart softened. Not all at once, but enough. She stepped close enough to touch. Evelyn's breath caught. Meera lifted a hand and gently straightened the collar of Evelyn's coat. It was such a small gesture. Evelyn looked wrecked by it. "You're still terrible at dressing for rain," Meera whispered. "I took the back entrance again." "Of course you did." Then Meera kissed her, softly, not like the dreams, not like the public wanted, not like a performance. It was a question, a careful opening of a door. Evelyn answered, with a sound so quiet Meera felt it more than heard it. Her hands lifted, stopped, and waited. Meera smiled against her mouth. "You can touch me." Evelyn's hands settled gently at her waist. Gentle. That was what undid Meera. The cold CEO kissed, like someone learning warmth by heart. When they parted, Evelyn rested her forehead against Meera's. "Was that allowed?" she whispered. Meera laughed. "Yes, good. You really have improved. A little," Evelyn said again. Inside, the party continued. Outside, the city moved on, unaware that the most powerful woman in Meridian had just lost a battle to a soft kiss and seemed grateful for the defeat. They did go slowly, paint slowly, according to Lena, who declared that lesbians with trust issues should come with a calendar warning. There were no public announcements, no red carpet reveal, no magazine cover titled "Love After Scandal." For 3 months, there was only quiet. Tea in Meera's sunny apartment. Dinners where Evelyn was forced to chop vegetables and looked at the cottonwool cane board like it was a hostile board merger. Long walks in neighborhoods where nobody expected billionaires to wander. Arguments, real ones, about control, about fear, about privacy, about the way Evelyn sometimes tried to fix pain instead of sitting beside it, about the way Meera sometimes made jokes instead of admitting she was hurt. They learned each other without cameras. Evelyn learned that Meera sang softly while reading scripts. Meera learned that Evelyn had nightmares before board meetings with her father. Evelyn learned to ask, "Do you want help or do you want me to listen?" Meera learned to answer honestly. Some days were difficult. Some days love felt less like lightning and more like careful construction. But there were beautiful days too. The first morning, Evelyn fell asleep on Monhellis on Meera's couch and woke with sunlight on her face, confused and unguarded. The first time Meera attended a business dinner not as a prop, but as herself, and Evelyn introduced her simply as Meera, the woman I love. No performance, no apology, just truth. The first time Evelyn laughed so hard she covered her face, and Mira realized she had never seen anything more beautiful. 6 months after the premiere, they were photographed together again, not by arrangement, not by PR. A blurry street photo outside a tiny bakery, Evelyn holding a paper bag, and Mira laughing into her shoulder while rain misted around them. The internet exploded, of course. Are they back together? Cold CO and actress, seen, looking very real. Mira Vale laughs, with Evelyn Cross after old fake, romance scandal. For once, Mira did not panic. She was sitting at Evelyn's kitchen island when the photo spread online. Evelyn stood beside the coffee machine, frowning at her phone. We can issue no comment. Mira smiled. Or? Evelyn looked wary. Or what? Or we can live. Evelyn stared at her. Mira slid off the stool and walked over. We don't have to explain everything. We don't have to prove it's real. We know. Evelyn's expression softened. We know, she repeated. Mira kissed her cheek. And for the record, you do get shy. I do not. You absolutely do. I am composed. You're blushing. I am reacting to coffee temperature. Mira laughed. Evelyn pulled her closer, and this time there was no flinch, no retreat, no rule standing between them. Just warmth. The next day, Mira posted a single photo. Not of their faces, not of a kiss. Just 2 hands resting on a kitchen table. Evelyn's long fingers wrapped around Mira's. No caption except one small blue heart. It became the most shared image of the week, but Mira did not check the numbers. She had spent too long being known by people who did not see her. Now she was seen by the one person who had once hired her to pretend and loved her enough to stop pretending first. 1 year after the contract was signed, Mira found the original copy in Evelyn's home office. It was not hidden. It sat inside a folder marked Archives, as if Evelyn had not known whether to destroy it or preserve the evidence of her own stupidity. Mira opened it while Evelyn stood behind her, tense. I can burn it, Evelyn said. Mira glanced back. Very dramatic. I can shred it, less romantic. I can have legal dispose of it. Absolutely not. Mira turned the pages slowly. There they were, the rules. No emotional demands. No private intimacy. No unscheduled appearances. No contradictions. No romance, dressed up in professional language. Mira remembered the woman who had signed it. Desperate. Tired. Trying to save herself with the only thing powerful people seemed willing to buy from her. An image. She did not hate that woman. She wanted to hug her. Evelyn's voice was quiet. I am ashamed of that document. Mira looked at her. You should be a little. Evelyn nodded. But not only ashamed, Mira said. No. It's part of the story. A terrible beginning. Yes. Mira smiled softly. But not the ending. Evelyn's eyes warmed. Mira picked up a pen from the desk. What are you doing? Evelyn asked. Revising. You cannot revise a terminated legal contract with a fountain pen. Watch me. Mira crossed out no emotional demands. Beside it, she wrote, honesty required, especially when inconvenient. She crossed out no private intimacy. Beside it, affection must be freely given, never performed. She crossed out no unscheduled public appearances. Beside it, rainy bakery dates permitted. Evelyn's mouth trembled. Mira crossed out no romance. Then she paused. What should I write here? Evelyn stepped closer. Her arm slid around Mira from behind. For a long moment, she looked over Mira's shoulder at the page that had once been a cage. Then she said, no pretending. Mira smiled. She wrote it down. No pretending. Evelyn pressed a kiss to her temple. I love you, she whispered. Mira leaned back into her. I know. Evelyn made a soft, offended sound. Mira laughed. I love you too, Ice Queen. I thought we retired that name, only in public. Evelyn turned Mira gently in her arms. There was still coldness in Evelyn Cross. Some things did not vanish just because love arrived. She was still precise, still guarded with most people, still capable of making grown executives sweat with one raised eyebrow. But with Mira, there was warmth now. Not loud, not careless, warmth like a fire behind glass, steady and chosen. Meera touched her cheek. Do you ever think about what would have happened if you never sent that email? Evelyn covered Mira's hand with hers. Yes, and I would have remained efficient. That sounds tragic. It was. Meera kissed her. Outside, rain began tapping softly against the windows. Neither of them moved to check for cars, cameras, or contracts. There was no audience, no role to play. Only two women standing in a quiet room, holding the rewritten proof that something fake had become painfully, imperfectly, beautifully real. And this time, no one had to pretend to be loved. They simply were. And that was the story of Mira Vale, the actress who was hired to play a billionaire, CEO's girlfriend, and Evelyn Cross, the cold woman who thought love was just another performance until she forgot her own lines. If you listened all the way to the end, tell me in the comments. Which moment touched your heart the most? The first gala? The stairwell scene? The balcony confession? Or the rewritten contract? And tell me what kind of GL story you want next. More cold CEO romance? Actress ex-billionaire drama? Secret wife stories? Jealous fake dating? Forbidden love? Omegaverse? Mafia Alpha? If you enjoyed this story, please give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a sweet comment. It helps the story reach more people who love emotional GL romance like this. And if you want even more intense, more dramatic, and hotter stories, you can support me on Patreon. The link is in the description. Thank you for listening, my loves. I'll see you in the next story.